To Saturday Night Live. How are you doing? I did not announce this one because I wasn't sure that I would have the time to come live, but I did. So I'm here and I will be talking about the Nigerian security again tonight. Yeah, okay. Welcome. So this week, all the news coming out of Nigeria, most of the news coming out of Nigeria has been depressing. Hello. About the kidnapping. We have a serious security problem at the moment. So there's kidnapping, banditry, robberies, and murder. And at this point, it's become clear that the government, has it become clear? But we're not sure what the government is doing about it. So it really bothers me, but I don't have any solutions, but I'm just here to have a conversation so that we can reflect together. How did we get here as a society? Because sometimes we are thinking of what the government can do for us, but what can we do for ourselves? I'm an Igbo girl from the eastern part of Nigeria, and I came from a community that's always self-governed, by age groups, and people watch, and good character, and just managing the energy and respect for the rule of the law and all that was our core thing. And then I also grew up, I was born in the 80s, and as I was growing up as a child, it was the era that the big man era was coming into Nigeria. Was the big man era. So we have this situation that people whose source of income was unknown, they were just suddenly rich. Some of them were suspected to be blood money, but they were just suddenly rich. And they were in the society, and the worse the government got, the worse things got, the more people lowered their moral compass to accommodate these people because they were starting to step in to do what the government was not doing. I'll give you an example. Earlier on, big men, all these people, they say, Bulozuna, high C, whatever, you don't know their source of money. They don't have any business, they don't have any education, they don't have any job, but they have the biggest Jeep. They're throwing money around. Back in the days, people from responsible families didn't want to give their daughters out in marriage to these people. They generally stayed away from them. But while things got worse, what happened is that they stopped asking, what's the source of your money? What do you do? No, they started asking, what can he do for us? So they stepped in. They built boreholes in the community for water. They built schools, they built hospital, they paid hospital bills, they gave scholarship. Then they will come to church bazaar, they will lunch with cow, they will give millions. People started asking them to be their wedding sponsors, they started getting chieftaincy titles, they started being prominent in society. And people started sending their children to go do apprenticeship. And so all of a sudden, as a community, we knew there was something not correct with these people, but we let them just be. And why am I laying this foundation? Because I am convinced that when the Niger Delta own started, when the bunkering of pipeline started, that someone knew who these people were. Someone knew who these people were that had these illegal refineries. But they will give you something. They will come to the community. They will send your child to school. They will do something. So you won't talk because it can never affect you. It can never be your problem. But until it becomes your problem when you're in the market and they're shooting out with police and they don't recognize you and you get caught in the crossfire. But that's not just it about men. So there was the Niger Delta situation where they were bunkering pipelines, terrorizing the community, killing people. And it was crippling the Nigerian economy because we didn't have enough oil to export. The crude was being stolen. And there was a big problem. And at some point, they decided that the best way to resolve this was to give them amnesty, forgive them, and reintegrate them into society. According to I know that they spent billions of naira on the amnesty program. And allegedly, they got like 65,000 naira monthly as a stipend. They went to school. Some went abroad. They went all over the place. And at that point, when I kicked against amnesty in the first place, here's why. If there's a child who cannot afford to go to the university, by no fault of his, he just cannot afford to go to school, and then he watches someone who has been a criminal get put in school and paid 65,000 naira a month, or sent abroad to learn a skill and paid money. When the next person comes around and tells them, hey, let's do this, they will do. So I knew it right at that moment. I knew that another group will come, and that the government will also give amnesty again, and that we'll be in this cycle that we might not be able to come out of. There's a tape that my uncle had when I was a child, and two people were insulting themselves, and one person called one a thief, and then the other person called one a beggar. And then the one that was called a beggar said something in Igbo. Onyariryo ko onyo shima. A beggar is better than a thief. That used to be our position at some point. And unfortunately, the begging culture has been in Nigeria for too long. But now we don't just have beggars or thieves. We have begging thieves. What do I mean by begging thieves? If you don't have an opportunity to steal, you beg the thieves. You beg them to give you some of what they have stolen, or you beg them for access to steal. And that's what we have in this situation, where the police are turning a blind eye to things, communities are turning a blind eye to things. Nobody is reporting crime, because all these forests that are kidnapping people and putting in, people live by these forests. They know movement that is not normal. This whole herdsmen situation, herdsmen have been across Nigeria all my life. When I grew up in Nigeria, Hausa people, Fulani people lived in Enugu. They had a little settlement near my house, near my street. They had a small mosque. Children were they had a school for children and a small mosque, and their men sold suya. Our abokis and malams, they sold suya. They had these tabletop things. They sold chichi sweets and candies and co. Wopas, malam, aboki, alaji. We lived in peace. They used to graze on my school compound. I went to University Primary School, and as I'm coming out of the waiting hall and going to go home, I used to see their cows, because we would say, this Catholic Greg they taught us about that follows cows. We'll point at the white birds. So they were there. What changed? What changed is that bandits joined. At some point, the bad set joined. They knew these people were not right, but they didn't say a thing. And then all of a sudden, it became a whole thing that people who are just following their cattle now have to carry weapons. And then they are now terrorizing communities, killing. And nobody is talking. Someone knows when it started. So I don't know, but we should all be careful when you start to join people who are doing stuff that you don't understand. You're overlooking things, thinking it will never get to you. But you might be protected. You might be like a sacred cow in your community. So it might be like a cow in Nepal if you stay in Port Harcourt. But if you go to Abuja, if you go to Ibadan for something, that might just be where they take you. Children, and it affects everybody. Every Nigerian, whether you live in Nigeria or abroad. When I worked in Calgary, there were people who didn't talk to me at all. They just used to ignore me, mind their business. But the moment Chibok girls were taken, everybody, elevator meeting, oh, you're the one from Nigeria. What's your government doing about the 300 girls taken? Everybody was asking me about Chibok girls. And I hate it that we're now that country where children are not safe in our schools. I hate it that there are parents who have not seen their children for weeks. And there are parents who might never see their children again. And there are teachers who all they did was go to work. And I will tell you that it also amazes me that there are still teachers in classrooms today, because no school is safe. No teachers are safe. No school children are safe. So it should be a nationwide demonstration to get, because it looks like everything is switched off. And all that matters is election primaries. election, primaries. That's all we're hearing about. No one is doing anything. No one is saying anything. And it's gotten to a point that these people are getting so powerful that it needs to come back to the community level, that everyone is noticing what's wrong and calling it out. Because it's little things that become very big things. It's that whole movement that just didn't feel right. They come in dragging someone whose hand is tied. They go into the back room. You know that people should not be tied like cattle to be entering anywhere. But nobody is saying anything. You know, when it started, Niger Delta, they say it's a Niger Delta problem. That is because of oil. Then it started in the north, Boko Haram. It was a northern problem. In the east, we had unknown gunmen. There were people who mandated a whole community, 5 states, to sit at home on Mondays, no movement. They were killing people, they were terrorizing people. They said it's an Igbo problem, it's an Eastern problem. The hands of, but nobody is safe in Nigeria until the whole Nigeria is safe, works. We have military, we have police. I don't understand what's going on. That 300 children can be taken from a school and we pretend like the forests is, I don't know, when I was growing up there was always evil forests. You enter, the devil lives there, blah blah blah. But if they can take these children in there and stay there, surely our military can go in there and find them. And it's now becoming like an apprenticeship program. You know how Igbos used to have that apprenticeship program where you take a bunch of boys, you train them, they learn skills, then you give them some money to go start their business. So now, one group starts kidnapping. It becomes too big to manage. A few people step out and set up their own boys and start their own kidnapping. It's a whole business now. It's getting out of hand. We are not safe because very soon you'll be grabbed from the airport, you'll be grabbed from church, you'll be grabbed from school, from the hospital. Nowhere is safe, and Nigerians have perfected the skill of suffering and smiling. They've perfected the skill of just life goes on. But life is not going on because a lot of young lives are being cut short. So I'm just here, I don't know, but as a community level, whatever level, and start thinking constructively of what you want from your leaders, not just you vote someone because they're Igbo or because they're Yoruba or because they're Hausa, because they're, you know, these things we hear in Nigeria during election. Oh, they can't be a Muslim ticket. Well, we have a Muslim vice president and president now. The country didn't end. So just focus on what are they going to do? What is their track record? What are we looking for? You need a government that listens to the people. Like when the whole Niger Delta thing started, right? And their pain was that all this bunkering happens here, all the pollution happens in the Niger Delta. The money goes to the whole federal government and there isn't a lot of development in the Niger Delta. And they also didn't have access to jobs and stuff. So when Governor Rotimi Amechi got there, he listened and said, actually, yes. So he championed a lot of things like, why are all these oil companies producing here and all their headquarters are in Lagos and Abuja and they're paying taxes to those states, and they mandated them to come back to Rivers State and set up their headquarters. And you know, when all these big companies have headquarters in Port Harcourt, in Rivers State, in Delta State, and they're going to need staff. They're going to need drivers, cleaners, security, and those kind of jobs are usually indigenized. So you cannot get people from other states to come and do so, instant employment. And then he went one step further to say, okay, normally all these people, because you cannot do youth service in your state of origin, which means all these people come into Rivers State to do youth service, and then half of them get retained in the jobs. So by the time the Rivers youth finish their youth service in other states, there are no vacancies for them to get jobs. So therefore, if you're sent to Rivers State, you'll go and teach. Most people who were sent to Rivers State in that era, I don't know if it has changed, but they had to teach in the rural schools so that those jobs remain available for indigenes. So your government, the people you want to re-elect, what have you stated before that they have taken up? What do you think that you want that they can do for you? You know, does your community have water? Does your community have electricity? What is the pain point of your community? Because sometimes you don't live in your local community because you work in the big city, but the worse it gets in your local community, the more difficult it is for you, because everybody is now billing you, whether you're in Lagos, Abuja, or abroad. People are coming to you for things that they used to do for themselves. I will come back another weekend to talk about the healthcare system, about having universal insurance and all of that, because this, when people's kidney fail, when they have cancer, they'll start doing group funding. It's not sustainable. But now today's one is security. What can we do as a community? When you see something, who do you speak to? Where do you flag it? Are you people confronting these people who live among you, who are doing these things? What on your level? Because I've been to a lot of countries that are considered poor, just like Nigeria, because they keep making the excuse that Nigerians do certain things because they are poor. No, that's not it. Now, in Nigeria, there are some countries that are more corrupt than Nigeria, but the corruption is high level, like only at the top. The ones lower do not dare. Nigeria is that community that corruption is on every level. The gatesman, they drive every single level. It is horrible. When I did youth service in Abuja, I was in a government relations officer. So I used to go to National Assembly, ministries, and all these places to deliver letters. So you come with original letter, you come with a copy, an acknowledgement copy that they need to stamp for you. Then you go to House of Rep members, their office, or senators, just the secretary in front, stamp the acknowledgement copy. They'll tell you that they will not stamp if you don't buy them recharge card. It's their job to just acknowledge that they got the letter. And they can waste your time. They will not stamp. You will beg, you will cajole, on every single level. Corruption, begging, stealing. And because a lot of people have normalized it in their own lives, people who keep asking people for things they cannot afford for themselves. Like sometimes I see a student. If a student said to me, "Oh, I have not eaten," I will have empathy because I've been a student. I understand being a student and being broke. You've not eaten, fine. But you're a student and you want human hair and you can't afford it. I won't take you very seriously because, see me, not a student. By God's grace, I have money, but I can walk around like this. So when people get to that level that they don't have contentment, they keep looking around them and wanting what other people have. They're not that focused on working to afford it. They just want what other people have. And that's how we are in this mess. That's why we're lowering our moral standards as a society, turning into begging thieves. If you can beg a thief, you beg a thief, either for money or for access to steal money. And that's just what worries me. Even the newcomers to politics, we don't know what they're going to do differently. We don't know their track record. And sometimes you know their track record, but they were in a smaller place. And then they have access to somewhere that will change who they are. The country really, really worries me. And I'm just putting it out there because I know that it will help someone make a decision for these coming elections, to just think about, who am I voting? Why am I voting them? What is the situation in my country? Our schools are not safe. Our schools are really not safe. When I went to boarding school, people were sending their children back to my boarding school to study because they want them to be more respectful, to be whatever. not just the black children, biracial children as well were being sent back from America, from the UK, because Nigeria was safe. Can I send Zoe and Zemora to boarding school now in Nigeria? So the Nigeria we had before, when we thought it was bad, the Nigeria that Chinua Achebe thought was falling apart, and the Nigeria we have now. Yeah, I know, I'm just ranting, but I just wanted to put something out there because I know it will definitely get someone thinking about the Nigeria that we have. So I hope that you have a good weekend and see you next week. Bye.